Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Please don't, as you watch the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our videos and our channel. Thank you. So today we'll be looking at making a trouser. I know many people know how to make trouser already, but I just want to be adding some little tricks that might not be obvious to many people. Now, this is the trouser we are making. It is a straight trouser. It's not a pencil, it's just a straight cut trouser. So the first thing we are going to make use of is the waist. Our waist is 38, so I'm supposed to divide our waist by 4. If I divide 38 by 4, I'm supposed to have 9.5, and my dart that I'm going to add to the waist is 1/4. Now, one of the tricks in trouser is based on the human body. Your tummy at the front is always bigger than the waist at the back. The waist at the front is bigger than the waist at the back. So now I'm going to group my measurement into front of the trouser and back of the trouser. Now I was supposed to use the waist supposed to be 9.5, so I'm supposed to use 9.5 for the front and the back. But this is what we are supposed to do. Both measurements are not supposed to be the same. So if I'm supposed to use 9.5 for the front and 9.5 for the back, the front waist is supposed to be bigger than the back waist. So this ½ inch, I'm going to remove it and add it to this one. So the front waist is going to be 10, while the back is just going to be 9. So for me, I prefer adding that to the back of the waist most of the time because of the hip. So if my dart is 1/4, so I'm just going to add 1/4 for the dart at the back. So you can see now the waist at the front, because of the tummy, is always bigger than the waist at the back. Now the hip, I divide by 4. I'm supposed to get 12. So the front is supposed to be 12 and the back is supposed to be 12. But if you look at the human body, her back side is always bigger than her front. It's always bigger. So I'm going to remove 1 inch from this 12 here. I'm going to have 11 left and add it to the back here. So I'm going to have 13. So you can see that the hip at the back is bigger than the hip at the front. Now the thigh, I'm supposed to divide by 2 because the thigh you only measure one leg. So we have front and back. So if I divide it by 2, I'm supposed to have 13.25 and 13.25. So the front is supposed to be 13.25 and the back 13.25. Like you notice, the leg at the back is always bigger than the front. So the front is going to be smaller. So if I remove ½ inch from here, I'm going to remove ½ inch. I'm going to have 12.75. 12.75 for the front thigh, 12.75. If I add ½ inch to the back, I'm going to have 13.75 for the back side. So you can see that the back is bigger than the front. Now looking at the round knee, I measure that also. So what I have here is 20. So if I divide, I'm supposed to divide by 2 because I'm only working with one leg. So I'm supposed to have 10 and 10. Like you notice, the back is always bigger than the front. So I'm going to have if I remove ½ inch, I'm going to have 9.5 and 10.5, which will still give me 20. So around bottom, it's a straight trouser. So I can, since a round bottom, straight, so I can make what I have at the knee here the same thing as what I have at the bottom, which is 20. So I divide 20 by 2. So I'm going to have the same measurement here, 9.5 and 10.5. Now the waist to thigh. If I want to get to waist to thigh, I simply divide the hip by 4. A hip, if I divide by 4, I'm supposed to have 12 plus ½ inch on 1 inch. This one has bigger hips, I'm going to use 1 inch. So our waist to thigh is going to be 13. Our waist to thigh is going to be 13. Now our waist to hip is just, you remove 3.5 from this, whatever I have at the waist to thigh. So if I remove 13 from here, I'm going to have 9.5 or 9. Let me just say I have 9. If I use 4, 9 for the waist to hip. So I'm going to make the pattern here. I'm going to start with the front first. So please just watch with me. Now before I start taking measurement, I'm supposed to measure the measurement here vertically and horizontally like this. So if I start the horizontal measurement. This is the beginning. This is the beginning of where I'm going to start my measurement. Any measurement I'm going to take, I have to consider the band measurement. For her, I'm going to use a band of 1.5. So the 1.5 now, I have to remove it from the top here. I'll measure the 1.5 outside like this. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to remove the 1.5 outside here. I won't include it inside the measurement here. I have to remove it outside. So that is where I'll start taking my measurements down now. So the first measurement I'm going to take is our waist to hip. Our waist to hip is 9, and our waist to thigh is 13. Our full length, sorry, I forgot to measure our full length. Our full length is 41. Full length is 41. I don't get to decide that one, so I just measure 41. Measure 41 for sewing allowance. I'm going to use 1.5 for the sewing allowance at the bottom part. So I'm going to measure it here again. I'm going to measure it here. Remember, I start off. I first of all remove the 1.5 for the band off. Our waist to hip is 9. Our waist to thigh is 13, and our full length is 41 plus 1.5. So I'm going to join it like this. I'm going to join it like this. I'm going to join it at the bottom part also, like that. Now, when I'm supposed to start my measurement from the edge of the paper here. I want to make the front first. Supposed to start my measurement from here. I won't start from the edge. I'll take in measurement inside like 3 inches before I start. So from the full length here, I'll measure 3 inches. I'll measure 3 inches here, so I can make the crouch here. So I'm going to measure it down. So the first line is the waist. The first line is the waist here. So I'll measure her waist. Her waist is 10. Note that allowance. Her waist is 10. Her hip is 11. So I'm going to measure it straight down like I'm making a straight skirt. I measure it straight down like I'm making a straight skirt. 11. And I'll join it together like this. And I'll join this side to the hip here. I mean to the waist, from the hip to the waist. Now, I've done the straight part for the skirt. So if I want to get the knee, the length of the knee, remember when we're measuring everything like this, I did not measure the length of the knee. So if I want to get the length of the knee, this is, if you don't measure it on the person, this is what you can do again. You measure from this thigh here to what you have at the full length here. What I have here is 28 divided by 2. That is supposed to be 14. I remove 1.5 inches. If I remove 1.5 on this, I'll have 12.5 inches. That is our waist to knee. That is how you can get the knee if you don't measure it at the person. So I'm going to measure our waist to knee here at this side also, then join it together. So this is her knee here, this is her thigh, and this is her hip. So I'm going to do the pattern for I'm going to measure the back also. Remember, I've not done anything to try, I only made a straight skirt. So if I want to make it, I still have to give like 3 inches inside like this. 3 or 3.5 inches, whichever one. The back has to be, the distance here has to be much for the back. So I'm going to measure our waist. Remember, like I always say, the waist, this is the zip part. The zip part for woman, the waist, it goes inside. I won't start my measurement from here. I'll take it inside a 1/2 inch like this. Then I'll measure her waist. Her waist for the back is 9 plus 1/4 for the dart. This is the dart. So I'm going to measure her hip here like this. Her hip is 13. Her hip is 13. So I'm going to join it up here like this. So I'm going to measure 13 straight down like I'm making a straight skirt. 13 straight down like this. Now join it together. Now this is her tie line. That's what you call the crotch. I'm going to measure the crotch out here like this. This is where the hip stop. I'm going to measure the crotch out. So for me to get that one, whatever measurement I have from here to here, I divide it by 4. Like this. Whatever measurement I have here I have 13. If I divide 13 by 4, I should be having 3 1/4. I should be 3 1/4. So I'll measure 3 1/4 outside here. You can see. Now you see this L shape here like this. From this point outside, I'm going to measure 1.5 or 1 3/4. Since our measurement is big, I'm going to let me use 2 inches since our hip is bigger. If your hip is not that big, I can use 1.5. So I'm going to shape it down here. Now, from this point here, from this waist to thigh, I'll measure it and divide it into 2. Our waist to from here to this thigh here, I have 11.5. 11.5 divided by 2, I should be having 5 3/4. So I'm going to measure the same thing here from here to here, which is supposed to be 11.5 divided by 2, 5 3/4. So I'm going to shape this crouch here to this point here. I'll shape it like this to this point I marked here and join it to this half inch here like this. Join it like this and join it like this. So you see, I measured out the crouch. So since I use 3 3/4 here, I'm just going to move 1 1/4. For this 3/4 I think I have 2.5, and I'll measure 2.5 at the front crouch here. I'll measure 2.5 at the front crouch here like this. So this is 2.5. So the way I got this measurement, I'll measure from here to here, from the waist to the thigh, divide by 2. I'm having 5. So I'm going to shape this to make this measurement here like this. So you can see the way I've done it now. So this trouser now, for me to make it balance properly, I have to find the center line of this trouser. So how do I do that? I measure from the hip here to this extended crouch. I have 13.5. I'll divide by 2. If I divide 13 by half by 2, I'm supposed to be having 6 3/4 plus 1 1/4, that is 7. So I'm going to measure the 7 here. From here to here, I'll measure. So I'll measure it straight down also. 7 straight down. I join the line. So this is going to give me this line here is the center line of the trouser. So this is the knee. You remember we have the knee measurement. I'm going to measure the knee here. The knee is for the front 9.5, which is 9.5 here. 9.5. So now you know this line that separated this part and this part into 2. So I'm going to make the 9.5 I have. I'm going to divide into 2. I'll measure one part here. Measure one part here. So the 9.5 divided into 2 is supposed to be 4 3/4. I'll measure 4 3/4 here, and I'll measure 4 3/4. So now I'll now join it to this hip line here like this. So joining it is going to look something like this. Join it here like this, and I'll join this to this extended crouch, thigh or crouch here. You can see the trouser. So for the bottom, the round bottom is the same thing like the knee. So I'll divide 9.5 to measure 4 3/4 here, 4 3/4 here. So I have something like this, 4 3/4 and 4 3/4. So I'll join it to the knee now. This is a straight trouser with a little fitted at the knee here. If you don't want to be fitted at the knee, you can still join it direct to the hip here, but I want to be fitted at the knee a little. I don't want to join it straight to the hip line there. So this is the front now. So I'm going to do the same thing at the back. First of all, have the center line for the back first. Just like I did for the front. Remember, from this extended crouch, I measure to this hip here. Whatever I have, I divide into 2. This I have 16 1/4. If I divide it to 2, I'll be having 8.1, then I'll add extra quarter to it like this. So whatever I have here now, from there to here, I have 8.3. I'm going to measure it down and draw a straight line. And draw a straight line like this. So at the knee now, what do I have for the knee for the back? What I have for the knee for the back is the rounding for the back is 10 and a half. So I'm going to divide 10 and a half into 2, which is 5 1/4. I'm going to measure 5 1/4 here and 5 1/4 here. So 5 1/4 here, which is going to give me 10 and a half. So I'll join it to the hip line here like this. This is straight shoulder with a little fit. I'm going to join it to the bottom part here. Measure my round bottom, which is 5 1/4 and 5 1/4, and join it like this. Join this side also. Now normally I'm supposed to join this side to the extended crouch here, but before I do that, I have to make sure the thigh. By the time I measure the front and the back, I have to make sure both of them give me the exact thigh of the person. Now our exact thigh is 26 and a half. So if I measure this front here out to the back, I'm supposed to get 26 and a half. Now if you want to measure the thigh, to get thigh measurement, you don't measure along this thigh line. You come down like 2 or 3 inches like this. I want to use 2.5, and I measure like this. So let's measure what we have at the front. From this point here to this point, I have 12 1/4. So I'm going to continue at the back here. I'm going to continue at the back here, 12 1/4. I'm looking for 26 and a half. Now this is 26 and a half here. This is 26 and a half. Let me measure again so you can see. From this point here, I have 12 1/4. So I'm going to hold still to my 12 1/4 and continue at the back here. I'm looking for 26 and a half. So you can see here, this is 26 and a half. So I'm going to join it up like this. You can see it's still correct, but we just have to make sure we check properly. So I'm going to check whether the hip is correct. Now our hip is 48. Now before I check our hip, if you look at this joining like this, you can see that it has this little point like this. If I leave this thing like this, our side is going to bulge out. So I have to make it a bit straight, like I'm almost making it straight. So the side will not bulge out. I'm using a barrier, if not I would have erased this if it was a pencil. So let's clean that one also. The real shaping is this. So we are going to do the same thing at the back also. This side that is pointing like this, you have to make it almost straight. Almost straight like this. So we are going to check whether our hip is correct. Our hip is 48. Round hip is 48. Half of the hip is supposed to be 24. So I'm going to make sure that what I measure here and here is going to give me 24. So I'm going to start from the front. You can see this is where it starts from here. So I'm going to start from the front now. Along the hip line, measure to this place. I have 11.1. So I'm going to continue my 11.1. I'm going to hold still to it and continue from this point here, 11.1, and make sure I have 24. So you can see that what I did that first time, you can see this shaping has already given me 24. So that means our measurement is correct. So I'm going to make the dart line now. For me to get the dart, I'll measure from here to here, divide by 2 minus 1. From here to here is 10 and a half. Half of it, 10 and a half, is 5 1/4 minus 1. So this is where our dart is going to be. So I'm going to measure it straight down 4 inches. That is 4 or 5, 4 and a half. So make a straight line like this. Remember so we have to bring out the dart to use was 1 1/4. So I'm going to show 1 1/4 into 2 and measure like this. Measure one part here and measure one part here, and I'll join it to the length of the dart like this. So let me bring the trouser out. There's something I'm supposed to do yet. Let me cut out the trouser first. I'm going to add my sewing allowance now. I want to use 1.5 for my sewing. Let me use 1 inch for my sewing allowance for this trouser. Use 1 inch sewing allowance. I have my sewing allowance like this. Back. This is my sewing allowance in the trouser. I'm adding it like this. And join it together. Remember, we have not done the pocket, so I'm going to cut it out. See, the allowance is not enough. I can add it when I'm cutting the fabric. I can add the 1 inch, correct? Now, this is the front. Now the flap. This is how you do the flap. You know, this is where we mark for the middle here. You can do cut in flap, or you can do the flap separately. So I'm going to show you cut in flap together with the fabric. So I'll just shape it out like this. This is the cutting flap. It's going to be like this. I'm going to add 1/2 inch at this hole here, like this, and I'll add 1/2 inch at the hole part. So this is the flap. It's supposed to be bent in like this. So that is what you need to fix the zip. So I'm going to be making a slant pocket. So if I'm going to make my slant pocket, I'm going to measure from the waist down along the hip here. I want to use 6.5 for the pocket. That is the length of the pocket. The width, I'm going to use 2 inches. Or let me use 1.5. One pocket amount to be too wide. So I'll join it together like this. And I will cut out the trace. I have to, first of all, draw out the pocket depth on the front pattern like this. Let me show you. This is the pocket. So I'm going to trace it out on paper. I fold the paper into two. So I need 2 pockets facing. I'm going to explain to you. So my tracing is not close by, so I'm just going to use my hand to pull it out like this to draw it out.